Hello and welcome to the next part of Christmas Otome. Last time, well, a lot of happened. First of all, Garret broke up with Maya due to him feeling not good enough for her, and then suddenly people broke into Maya's house and stole all her electronics and got rid of all her research she did. And then suddenly there was a hostage situation at Joseph's. So yeah, things happened. Let's see how the situation will be resolved. If it will, considering that I'm planning the bad end. The sun was already setting when the restaurant door suddenly opened to admit Mr. Sterling accompanied by a few of his men. Sir, you see we haven't harmed him, so... Mr. Sterling shut him up with an icy glare. Get out. Right, let's go, boys. They scurried out. Is that okay to let them go like that? The police are outside. And they went willingly. He ignored my words and turned to the man beside him. Take my daughter home. She's not to leave under any circumstances. Yes, sir. A few of the men went to Syria and Baron to help them up, and lead them out without untying either of them. Another untied the ropes binding me and helped me to my feet before going with the others. Mr. Sterling stopped Baron with a gesture just before he was out the door, and then looked him up and down. Admirable, but you need more training. Baron ducked his head. Understood, sir. Then Mr. Sterling let them leave before turning to me. As for you, come with me. I rubbed at my wrist to get the circulation back as I followed Mr. Sterling out of the restaurant. It wasn't like I was going to disobey when he just saved my life. The sight of a large crowd still murmuring greeted me once I stepped out. I was momentarily blinded by cameras flashing, but I could have sworn I saw Garret standing among the crowd looking concerned. Before I could think about doing anything, however, Mr. Sterling used his coat to shield me from the cameras and led me into his limo. It was more luxurious than the car Siri usually used, but it gave me the impression of being in a headmaster's office, even more so when the privacy window closed as the car started moving and it was now only the two of us. When the silence dragged on, I hesitantly spoke up. Thank you for your help, sir. The best thanks you would be to make sure that nothing like this ever happens again. Some things should not be locked into, no matter how smart or careful you think you are. Is that clear? Yes, but... No what? There are enemies you cannot afford to make. That's fair. I swallowed hard under his glacial gaze. I understand, sir. My daughter wanted to prevent this by sending you to your parents. That's still not a bad idea. I was going to catch a flight home tomorrow. You'll go today. The jet's fueled and waiting. I sent a car to take you to the airport. It may be better for you to not return for a few months. Allow him time to forget about trying to silence you. Oh, okay. I was already getting off lightly considering the alternative earlier was death. I wasn't going to look a gift horse in the mouth. All I could do was accept the arrangements he made. I must have looked quite dejected as I heard Mr. Sterling let out a soft sigh. Then I felt his warm hand pat my head affectionately. I know you're just thinking of Osiria and our family, but unlike us, you don't have the power to protect yourself. He ruffled my hair before removing his hand, chuckling as he did so. I caught sight of my reflection in the car window. My hair was a mess. I couldn't help but puff my cheeks up in indignation at his laughter. Why was I being treated like a pet hamster? Well, all's well that ends well. I closed the door to my room and rested my back against it with a tired sigh. It wasn't that I disliked visiting my parents, but they had spent the last couple of days coddling me after finding out about the hostage situation that took place at Joseph's. To be fair, stuff like that can be traumatic, so you gotta be very careful about the aftermath. I get that they're worried about me, but this is a bit... It didn't help that the hostage situation wasn't actually the thing that was making me muddled. It was sorted at least. Was it? In your situation I would still be very worried about... well... the people behind this coming back again to trying to silence you. No, what was plaguing my mind was Garret and the way he had left things. When I saw him outside of Joseph's, I thought that maybe my life being in danger made him reconsider breaking things off. But maybe that incident made him think I was more trouble than I was worth instead. What worried me even more was that the bracelet hadn't done anything since then. No dreams, no dizzy spells, no urge to go to a specific place. Nothing. Is it the distance, or has it also given up on us? I shook my head against that depressing thought. I didn't need the approval of some cursed bracelet. Despite that thought, I couldn't help but feel restless, like I was slowly suffocating the longer I stayed in this house without doing anything. I need some air. I glanced at the time on my phone, but even the late hour wasn't enough to deter me. I needed to get out of here. I quietly made my way downstairs and out the front door, careful not to wake my parents. They wouldn't approve of me getting out so late. I didn't even bother to change first. The urge to get away was that strong. It was only when I reached the snow-covered clearing that I stopped, shivering lightly. Lightly? You're in a top, girl. I rubbed my arms even as I took in the sight of the moonlight reflecting off the snow. Beautiful. A thought came to me unbidden. I wish Garret was here to see it with me. Almost on cue, the bracelet lit up, shining brightly bright. I swayed a little as a wave of dizziness hit, but forced myself to stay standing. Maybe heading out into the snow wasn't such a good idea. Maybe. If I pass out here in the middle of the night, I'll be as good as dead. I was about to turn and head back when something caught my attention. A familiar glowing green portal was starting to form in front of me. But I'm awake. The world's still in full color. Actually, is it? Hard to tell in the snow, isn't it? With the snow and fog everywhere, it was hard to tell. Don't tell me I already passed out. The portal, however, didn't care for my freak-out and engulfed me the moment it was big enough. And what I saw on the other side was a place I'd never seen before. Where am I? It looked like some sort of ice palace. I started to walk around, looking for any clue about what I was supposed to be doing. I rubbed at the bracelet, but it was uncharacteristically cold. It was duller than usual too. I couldn't shake the feeling that something was wrong. Still, I tried to ignore it as I walked through the place. The bracelet must have brought me here for a reason. It was then, as I was trying to convince myself of that I saw him. There was Garret, asleep on a bed. The closer I got, however, the more I noticed how translucent he was. I ignored it and tried waking up instead. Garret? When there was no response to my voice, I reached out to shake his shoulder, but my hand went through him. I hadn't been able to interact with any of the previous dreams either, but this felt different. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. There wasn't anything here for me to observe or learn from. It was just Garret. so I kept trying to wake him up, with mounting panic. What felt like an eternity later, he finally woke up, but even then he couldn't see or hear me as he went about his day. I could hear the things going on around him, that he was directly involved in, but he still was the only one I could see. Hanging around him like some sort of ghost and listening to his thoughts without being able to do anything felt like a special type of torture. Worse still, when his thoughts turned to me, and that I wouldn't answer his calls. But he worried he'd blown it by waiting to give me time to myself to recover after the hostage situation. I rubbed at the bracelet, which had started pulsating weakly when I found Garret. The pulsing grew dimmer as time went on. My finger stopped along the indentation that I swore wasn't there before, and I lifted my wrist up for a better look. How did it get cracked? I was brought out of my wondering when Garret paused at the sound of knocking on the door. It was the first time I heard a sound that wasn't generated by him. Who? To both our surprise, it was Siri that stormed in. Maya's friend? Did Maya send her here to get me to stop bothering her? Listen. No, you listen. This is all your fault. I'd never heard Siri so angry, not even when she was cursing out Dawn. I have a feeling that Maya might be in a coma and not waking up anymore. Yeah. She shoved the file at Garret, and all he could do was take it. I couldn't help a fond smile. Same old Siri. What? Read it. She glared at him with red-rimmed eyes. My heart clenched. Had you been crying? Just what had happened? Garret looked from Siri to the file before opening it, and I settled closer, curious. The first thing I noticed were all the snapshots of Garret and me together. Just thinking of those times brought a smile to my face, and I glanced up at Garret, his face too. It felt like so long since I'd seen him smile that I couldn't stop myself from staring. I was so foolish. Then his face dropped abruptly. No, this can't be. I looked back down at the file to see what had caused the change. That's me in a hospital bed? I tried to read the summary beside the picture, but it was blurring in my mind. What I could read had my blood turning to ice. Comatose with no chance of recovery? You don't need to lie to get me to stay away from her. I'm not an unreasonable person. Tell me you're lying. I could feel the desperation in that thought. But one look at Siri and I knew it was true. Siri sneered at him through her tears, and I wish I could comfort her. If only it was as simple as that. She was found passed out in the snow and hasn't woken up since. But what? Don't act like you don't know. This is all because of you and Dawn. Oh, Siri, no. I would mostly put the blame on Dawn on this one. Because seriously. Dawn never should have gotten that stupid bracelet. Really. I mean, Garret didn't even know about it. Like, he knew nothing about it, so... I don't think he's in any way or form at fault here. If you'd never given me that stupid bracelet. And if you didn't go and break her heart. Siri was barely holding back her sobs. She would still be here. It all made a sick kind of sense now. No wonder the stream seemed to drag on forever. I couldn't wake up. I never meant... No, she was better off without me. Yeah. I watched as he clenched his eyes closed, a tear running down the side of his face. I should have stayed out of her life from the start. That's not... No. But it's too late now. I can't take back the things I've said. I can't turn back time. I can't bring her back. I wanted to reach out and show him that I was here, that I was okay. But I still couldn't touch him. I would never be able to touch him again. That sure wasn't bad then. It's a nice CG though. Big oof. Alrighty then. Then let's see if we can fix this. By first looking at the dreamscape. I glanced around and saw Garret in the local supermarket. He was comparing prices and carefully picking out his items. All the while he was followed by curious gazes and gossip. He tried to ignore it, but after a while it started to grate on his nerves. He moved here in the area not long ago. I always see him taking out the trash, bringing home food and going out to work. He does all the shopping for his house too. How is any of this their business? Oh? What about his parents? His mom's out of the picture, and no wonder too. The dad is a deadbeat who lets his son take care of him. Garret froze momentarily before acting like nothing happened. It's so easy for them to make assumptions about my life. But they don't know anything. It wasn't a lack of trying that made her leave. Tried so hard. He worked even harder than I do. But he always made sure he had time for her. He made sure we both knew we were loved and that our needs were taken care of. But it wasn't glamorous enough for her, so she left. And he stopped trying. She should have taken the boy with her though. Maybe she couldn't, both herself and the boy. Couldn't support both herself and the boy. Or maybe he chose to stay behind. She didn't want me. She didn't want either of us. Seriously? She didn't even ask, I wanted to go with her. She just saw an opportunity for a better life and didn't want us dragging her down. If that's the case, she must be so worried about him. In all these years, she hasn't even bothered to contact me or check if I was okay. Not when I was in the gang, with the possibility of death hanging over me all the time. Not now that I've cleaned up my act. Poor lady. Was she the poor one? My dad might not be the best, but at least he's still around. He didn't abandon us. If I didn't have him, I would have given up when she left too. So why does everyone assume she's the only one that deserves sympathy? Why is it so easy for people to place their own assumptions on others? It's just like when I joined together with Don to create the gang and protect the kids. I was branded as nothing more than a violent delinquent. And Dad was blamed for it, even though all he had ever done was train me in our family style to defend myself. Garret shot the gossiping ladies a glare that sent them scurrying away. I convinced Dad to move so we could have a new start, but it seems things never change. Oof. I guess I'm curious. Let's see what happens if I investigate stuff now. I can't believe they're sending the package so early. I can't believe they're sending the package so early. It was supposed to be the first week of January. Well, at least you're sure it will arrive before Emma's birthday. True, there is nothing more disappointing than a birthday gift getting delayed because of shipping. Right, so I'll put it in a wardrobe on your old room when it arrives. Thanks again, you're a lifesaver. Uh-huh. Seriously, I owe you one. You want something? Just name it. Well, I did think that I wanted relationship advice before. I know, I ruled out Mira before, but well, she does understand how these things work better than I do. In that case... Oh, is there something? Well, I kinda want some advice. Fashion advice? I've got some designs I've been dying to get you to try. Don't worry, nothing risque or anything. That's not really your style, you do better with... No, not fashion. Relationship advice? Mira? Sorry, I'm trying to figure out what's more unbelievable. You wanting relationship advice, or that you're coming to me for it? Well, I don't have a lot of options, okay? Siri doesn't have relationships, just borderline stalkers. She's kind of a stalker herself too, so... Parents know better considering he's one of the borderline stalkers, and now has the personality of white bread. Oh, that's kinda mean. Emsa's right there though. Normal people can't compare themselves to her. She's got together with a celebrity within 2 weeks of meeting him. Yep, that's my girl. I couldn't help but think the pride in Mira's voice was misplaced. Anyway, isn't 2 weeks still better than literally marrying a guy the night I met him? She did have a point there. You're right, I'll go ask Emma. Bye, Mira. Hey, no, you can't just drop the call like that. If you're not gonna help, then... Hey, I never said I wasn't going to help. I was just surprised. Now, tell Mama Mira all your woes. I decided to ignore her weird phrasing and do as she said. So I told her about how I met Garret and started dating him. Oh, Maya likes the bad boys. He's not a bad boy. You said he used to be in a gang. Ex-bad boys then. I don't even know why I told you that part. There's nothing bad about him. He's an absolute sweetheart. Okay, so what relationship advice do you need regarding your absolute sweetheart? I hate you. Oh, come on. How can I not take the chance to rile you up when you're usually so calm and collected? Fine, I don't know. You don't know what advice you need. I've never done this before. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. He's being so thoughtful and I don't want to mess it up. I think you're doing fine as it is, though. I can't even think of good date ideas when we're so different. Like, what do guys even like? And he's so active that most of the things I see him doing are things I'd never be able to keep up with. This is the guy who jogs up mountains. I would feel too guilty making him go at my pace. You're overthinking this. Just enjoy going on dates and getting to know each other. Sure, it's nice to do things you both like, but half the fun is doing things together. I want to, but overthinking is what I do. What if I do that and he thinks I'm boring? Mira made a considerate noise. I can't really help with overthinking, but Maya, he already likes you, so he clearly does not think you're boring. And what if that changes? Maya, have you considered that he might have the same worries? What? Garret? No, he's such a great guy, he could never be boring. Just spending time with him, oh. I finally understood what she was getting at. Yes? Oh, indeed. Good dates don't need to be big productions. They can be as simple as just being in each other's presence and talking to each other and not talking. As long as you both enjoy yourselves, there's no specific requirement. That doesn't mean you shouldn't put in any effort at all, of course. But you don't need to stress yourself out so much. Besides, a bad date isn't the end of the world. It can become something to laugh about in time. Trust me, I've been on plenty of bad dates. That's not really something to be proud of. I could practically hear a shrug. I'm just saying. I survived and you will too. Plus, if your relationship can't survive a single bad date, you've got deeper problems. So, if you think that's the case, maybe you should break up before. No, you're right. I'm being silly, aren't I? Aren't we all when it comes to love? Love, huh? Oh, that was a nice scene. Now we let's just keep doing this, since I'm curious. I was following up on a lead when I heard a knock on my bedroom door. Yep. I answered without looking, not wanting to break my concentration, but also not wanting to worry Emma. I only glanced up when I heard her open the door and enter the room. You okay? Uh-huh. I mean, you locked yourself in there the moment you got home. The door wasn't locked, or you wouldn't be able to get in. You know what I mean. Yeah, I know. Yeah, I know. There's nothing wrong, okay? This is just how I am. The look on her face showed that she didn't quite buy that. I was starting to get flashbacks to living at home with our parents. I like spending time in my room with my electronics. I like studying too. I'm not depressed or anything, this is just my normal. If anything, all this leaving the house and social interactions I've been doing lately is what's unusual. Same. If you're sure, I'm just concerned. I know we're not super close or anything, but I still consider you a friend. I know, for what it's worth, I consider you one too. I doubted we would ever be as close as her and Mira or myself and Siri, but you couldn't share space with someone for an extended period of time without developing some sort of attachment. See, she smiled at my admission. I guess you're too busy to come down to eat then, huh? Oh. It was then that I realized why she came up in the first place. Yes, she might be concerned about me, but she was feeling lonely too. Mira told me once that Emma didn't like eating alone. I glanced down at my laptop for a moment. Now that you mention it, I'm actually hungry. Let me just find a good stopping point. Shouldn't take more than a few minutes. She brightened considerably. Great, I'll go set the table. I quickly saved the information I was going through and put the laptop to sleep. It's already been months, so it's not like an hour is going to make much difference. Emma needs me more right now. Well, it certainly got you in hot water. Okay. I'm already on Garret's road, so let's take a look at university. Mick checked his phone before standing up abruptly. Oh shoot, I need to leave. He stood up hastily, accidentally dropping his bag and spilling its contents. Damn it. I knelt down to help him pick up his stuff up. Let me help. Thanks. Today's really not my day. Oh, this is cute. I picked up a chibi animal figurine from the ground and made to hand it over to him. He stared at it for a moment before shaking his head. If you like it, keep it. I glanced at the bracelet. Yeah, that didn't work out so well for me last time. I really shouldn't. Mick shrugged. Okay. He finished putting his stuff back into his bag in silence, and then he rushed out. It was only once he was gone that I realized he'd left the chibi on my table. I picked it up and turned it over in my hand. With its big eyes and little paws. It really is cute. And the skipping stopped, so let's go. I was starting to remember bits and pieces from that dream and all the ones before, and what I'd seen left me feeling conflicted. By the way, let me just check. Yes, he's unfrozen. I thought he would call me up and try to reconcile after that, but my phone was still silent. I thought about calling him up myself, but I didn't think I could take another rejection. As time passed, I started to think that maybe he wasn't talking about me when he asked if it was too late. What if he decided it was fine and he could move on? He hadn't called after the hostage situation either. If he'd really been outside then, and still cared, shouldn't he have called? Chin up, Maya. You know he still cares. Maybe he just needs some time to think. Like I had. The whole situation really put things into perspective. I'd spent so much time doing what I thought I should, or would make me feel useful. Kept trying to prove myself, but why? And to whom? I've been piling up more on my plate, so I wouldn't have to think about the future. I'd spent so much of my life as the perfect student, and now I would be leaving that behind. Garret was right when he thought that the future was scary. The future is scary to us all. But seeing him willing to face that uncertain future, well, it made me want to see mine too. And especially wanted to see what future together would be like. Right, if he won't call me, then I'll call him. I nodded resolutely. If his doubts were preventing him from taking that first step on his own, then I would be the one to do it for us. As much as I was afraid of being rejected, well, I was more afraid of watching our chance slip away. Still, it was probably too late at night to call him right this moment. I would give him a call tomorrow, and then we will sort things out. Despite that, though, I couldn't help but feel restless, like I was slowly suffocating the longer I stayed in this house without doing anything. So you're still gonna go out, but we did free his heart, so the bracelet shouldn't at least it shouldn't cause her to fall into a coma again. It looked like some kind of ice cave. I looked down the softly pulsating bracelet. Well, where do you want me to go? I followed its insistent pull. After all, time for doubt had already passed. It wasn't long before I saw Garret staring up at the ceiling. Unusual setting aside, this still seemed too different from the usual dreams. I made my way closer to get a better grasp on what was going on. After all, it must be important for the bracelet to show me, right? Except as I got closer, Garret turned to face me. Maya? I turned around to see if there was an apparition of me that he was talking to, but nope. I've been thinking about you enough that I started dreaming about you too. Wait, dreaming. Don't tell me you can see me. He blinked. You're right in front of me. Why wouldn't I be able to see you? That was a reasonable question under normal circumstances, but these were hardly normal ones. I walked up to him and cupped both my hands around his bicep tentatively. I can touch you. Okay, this is getting a bit weird now. My brain finally caught up to what looked like I was doing, and I pulled my hands back. I was making sure you were real. I don't think we're real though. Isn't this a dream? No, well, yes, but not a normal dream. You're gonna need to explain further. I hesitated for a moment, but then decided that if he's in here already, there wasn't any harm in telling him the truth. So around the time we met, I was giving a cursed bracelet that would give me these weird dreams, so I could melt a heart? Not like a wet dream, right? I sputtered. No, they were normal dreams. Well, not normal, but Like of the past, through someone else's eyes? I can't believe you even suggested that with a straight face. Just checking. We've all covered sex ed before. Still, his reaction buoyed my spirits a bit. At least he wasn't angry at the invasion of privacy. Before it gave me dreams of you, but this is the first time you've been able to see me. He nodded as though that made sense. Because it's the first time I'm here. You're taking this surprisingly well. He shrugged. Either it's a dream and nothing to worry about, or this is the first time we've talked since I... His expression hardened. Since I made a mistake. I could hardly believe my ears. What mistake are you talking about? He gave me a look. You know what mistake. I shouldn't have broken up with you. It didn't make either of us happy. I let out a relieved breath. I thought it would take more convincing to get you to change your mind. I gave him a shy smile. So we're back together now? And you have no intention of breaking up again, right? Yes, I'll never leave you again. My smile became more confident. Great. Then can you please take this off me? It's only supposed to come off once you've melted completely. I lifted the hand with the bracelet up for him to see. He reached out and gently tried to undo the clasp. Then he tried with more force. It's not coming off. But we should have fulfilled the requirements. You like me, I like you, and there's nothing stopping us from being happy together. Garret stiffed when he was still hunched over the bracelet. Do you hear that? Hear what? Even as I was asking, I became aware of it, low whispers. They were too far away to make out what was being said, but I had the hairs on my neck standing on end. Okay, what's going on? Garret straightened and looked off into the distance. I followed his gaze to see vague, shadowy shapes shambling the way forward. It reminded me of a horror movie. The bracelet pulsed at me as through proud. Thanks, I hate it. We stood frozen long enough for the whispers to become a little cleaner. Ah, it's self-doubt. You're fooling yourself. She'll leave you. It's only a matter of time. I'll become a shell of a man. At last one seemed to jolt Garret out of it because he was grabbing me by the hand and running in the opposite direction of the shadows. I struggled to keep up, but with him having to accommodate my slower gait, the shadows kept getting closer. At this rate, we'll both be caught. Leave me. No. Why would he? Now that I was looking at him, I realized he was whispering back at the shadows. It doesn't matter. I'll have the chance to love her before she leaves. Before I leave? Like it was a foregone conclusion that I would. You're just trying to comfort yourself. How can you love her if you can't even open up? Shut up. He quickened our pace. Running, always running. If you can't punch it, you run from it. You never deal with the problem. It was taking all I had to keep up with him, and I could already feel myself starting to falter. You run from her too. That one sounded too close. The speed and fatigue and the agitation from how near they were getting, I couldn't keep going. Not for the first time I cursed my lack of stamina. My knees hit the ground, and it was only his grip on my hand that kept the rest from me from following suit. I half expected to be dragged along. Instead, Garret drew to a stop beside me. He made to lift me into his arms, but I pushed against his chest, panting heavily. Just go. I'll slow you down. I won't leave you. This isn't the time for dramatic proclamations, they're right there. I pointed him at the shadowy figures, like he didn't know they were there. He pursed his lips but stood firm in front of me. I let out a shriek when the shadows converged on us. Garret tried to hold me tightly in his arms, using his bulk to protect me from them. But then he seemed to realize something. The shadows were trying to get at him, practically ignoring me. I pulled him closer, trying to protect him the way he tried to protect me, but his strong hands pushed me away. They're after me, Maya, go. I think it's your own self-doubt. It's not exactly subtle, too. I could only call out helplessly as he was swallowed by the darkness. I tried to get in or pull the shadows off him, but the energy was too dense. Still, I kept trying futilely. Come on, Garret, fight this. You can't let it end like this. I kept pulling at the darkness, trying to get it to let go. My eyes welled with tears of frustration, but I wouldn't give up. Darkness suddenly spiraled out, leaving Garret in the center. I rushed forward in relief, only to stop when I noticed he didn't seem quite right. Something about the way he was standing was just a little off. Garret? I called out to him tentatively. It's Shadow Garret, his true self. That's right, I am Garret. Even the way he said it sent chills down my spine, and not the good kind. What's wrong, Maya? Shouldn't you be happy to see me? He looked a menacing step forward. Or are you going to run? Will you leave me despite your promises? I fought back my fears to maintain my position instead of scurrying back. I had to go through to Garret. Garret, you've got to fight it. I clenched my fists to stop them from trembling. I couldn't fall weak now, not when you needed me. Not when you wouldn't have even gotten caught if you hadn't stayed for me. What is there to fight? Wouldn't you be scared if I fought? Aren't you afraid of me? That brought me up short. Perhaps at the start I thought he was a little scary, but now? After all this time, the idea seems laughable. I'm not afraid of my Garret. How can you still say that when you're shaking so badly? Because you're goddamn possessed? No, calm down, Maya. You can still get through to him. Don't be afraid. Don't let him get to you. That's what he wants. I'm not leaving. Even if you hurt me, I won't run off without Garret. He hissed in displeasure. Why go so far? It'd be easier to hurt you, break you. Would you still try to save me if all I bring you is pain? Okay, so you can be a bit rough around the edges, but the Garret I know would never hurt me. Not physically and not intentionally. Hell, he's too soft to even hurt me mentally. He can't even do a harsh "I never want to see you again" breakup. I was rambling. I knew it, but the possessed Garret was really creeping me out, and I couldn't let him see how much. Deep breaths, you're doing well. You just need to get through to your Garret and he'll take care of the rest. I winced at the harsh sounds of his laugh. Even that sounded wrong coming from Garret's body. Will you put your trust in me even though I never really let you close to me? You figured it out by now, right? I am your Garret. The words hit me like a physical blow, and I only barely stopped myself from staggering back. I thought back to the whispers and the dreamscapes. Then I stared hard at this Garret, seeing not only his twisted face, but the pain in his eyes too. It was that, more than his words, that convinced me. My Garret was still in there, and he needed me. I filmed my resolve and took a step forward. A flicker of fear crossed his face, and with that I became more sure. I crossed the distance between us, and now it was clearer than ever. The one who was scared between the two of us was Garret himself. I reached out to him, pushing forward even as he tried to flinch away. I wouldn't let him hide from me. Not this time. This time we would face it together. In all the time that we've spent together, the only time I was truly afraid was when you said goodbye. I rubbed my thumb softly against his cheek. My eyes sought out his out imploringly. I could push as much as I wanted, but I couldn't force him to accept my words. He had to do that all on his own. So what about you? His eyes and lips trembled as he reached for the hand touching his face. I was gratified when, instead of removing it, he clasped it and leaned his lips to it as he whispered to me. Me too. I'm afraid of your goodbye. But even more so, I'm afraid of losing you. I noticed more shadows starting to bleed off him, but stayed quiet, not wanting to draw his attention to them. When I heard about what happened at Joseph's, all I could think about was, what if I hadn't quit? I would have been there with you, able to protect you. That if anything happened to you, the last thing I'd done was hurt you. You had your reasons. They were wrong. The urgency in his tone surprised me. I was wrong. Then you can learn from it. That easily? No, not easily. That's the human condition, isn't it? We all fall sometimes, but it's up to us to get back up. He looked startled, possibly at me reiterating his father's advice, but hey, it was good advice. You can't stop living just because you're afraid to fall. He wrapped his arms around me, smothering my head against his chest. This is kind... Stop, don't look at me right now. I can't believe the situation is reversed now. I was so confident back then. I gave up on the idea of protesting. Instead, I wrapped my own arms around him and turned as I listened patiently. I am sorry for being weak. I'm sorry for hurting you because I was too scared. But I'm gonna try to change that, so that I can be strong enough to protect you, and that I can be strong enough for myself. You're already strong enough, you fitness junkie. He wasn't talking about physical strength, of course, but just the idea of a stronger Garret was inconceivable. Maya, would it be okay if I continue to love you? Did he just say... I shifted to peek up at him. He was looking at me with such an earnest expression that I melted. It would never not be okay. I couldn't resist adding something else in a lighter voice. I never asked you to stop in the first place, you big doof. He laughed softly, a laugh far more fitting for my Garret. You're right, that was my bad. I was happily snuggling into his hold when I felt a drop of water hit my skin, followed by another and another. I looked up to see that the cavern we were in was melting. What now? Wasn't the shadow thing enough? I felt like something was tugging at me, and Garret must have felt it too, because he was tightening his hold on me. Stay close. I didn't really have any choice considering the way he was practically koala beared in his hug, but I wasn't complaining. I've got you. Then it all went white. Ah, this is a really nice CG. Credits! We've got the good ending this time. Concerning my current thoughts of the game, Garret is very cute. I must say I would have liked a little few more scenes of like Maya and Garret just being lovely dovelies. And I must say it's always kind of refreshing to see more like everyday kind of scenes in Otome games, considering that I play many console Otome games and those tend to be very not everyday like and very much dramatic. And outright outlandish. I mean, this game also has its fantasy elements, but it is pretty subdued with it, so it feels much more like a realistic one. And I'm very, very, very curious about like there's clearly an overarching plot here. And I really want to know more about it. Oh! Your hairstyle. The dojo was unusually quiet when I entered it after work. Where is everyone? I noticed them all huddled in the corner with Garret standing cross-armed, supervising them. I quickly made my way to his side and gave him a kiss on the cheek, smiling into it as he pulled an arm around me to pull me closer to his side. Good day? The usual. What's going on here? I had just at where the disciples were gathered around, building something that resembled a small shrine. In the center was... wait. Is that my Kippy waiter plush? Yep. Okay, but why? He didn't answer my question, but watched the former gang kids turn disciples fondly. Because this thing is magic. Uh-huh? Yeah, our master can get a smart and pretty girl like you to stay with him for this long. This thing must be a good luck charm or something. It's called having a good personality. No, man, we discussed this. It's gotta be more like just luck to have a girl like that interested in a brutish guy like... He cut himself off when one of the other kids whacked him. So, in conclusion, we all decided this thing is magic. The others murmured in agreement. I shared an amused smile with Garret. After all, they weren't wrong about magic being involved, they just got the wrong item. Waking up in Garret's arms in the snow all those years ago had proven that it wasn't just a crazy dream. He hadn't been nearly as fazed by that as one would expect. Or with the fact that he literally teleported to my side in the middle of the night. I still remembered the way he just shrugged and said it was fine as long as we were together. Siri really had to pull some strings that day. Without her getting him back home without a passport would have been a nightmare. You were in a different country? Or do you need a passport to go between, like, states or whatever it's called there? Nothing, just reminiscing. I leaned my head in against his shoulder fondly. About? The first time you met my parents. He chuckled as he nudged his head against mine. That must have been very interesting. Yeah, yeah, that was interesting. They hadn't even questioned how or why a strange boy had popped up in the middle of the night. They were too excited about the fact that I brought said boy home to care about any of that. Maybe the Cosgrove's genes are more inclined to romanticism than I had thought. I snapped out of my thoughts as the boys began to hammer more pieces of wood into the shrine. So? That's the shrine, right? He hummed in agreement. You and your dad really just okayed this? I mean, a shrine to my Kippy waiter plush? For all to see in the dojo? Well, I figured Christmas was coming up, and it'd be nice to serve as a reminder of how lucky I am to have you in my life. So I guess it must have been at least a year. Because this definitely feels like they've been together for longer than just a few more days. I am. Maya was staying over at her parents anyway for much longer, wasn't she? Wouldn't the surprise be spoiled now that I'm physically watching you build my gift? And using slave labor at that? He laughed. No, it's more to serve as a reminder to myself and to indulge these brats. Then he leaned down to whisper into my ear, making my stomach flutter. Making my stomach flutter. I got too deep there. I've got something else in mind for your gift. Well, I cannot wait. He smiled as he gave me a small squeeze. We both watched on as the boys built their shrine, a token of the memories we share. Even without the bracelet, I knew Garret and I would be just fine. It's a very nice CG, it's a very nice CG. I am guessing that I got all of Garret's, since the way this is separated is making me a little bit nervous. But yeah, oh well. Yeah, turn back to late and no longer fleeing. Wait. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We have one more ending? So one of the routes, probably the sequel one, has 3 endings? Or is there a ending where... No, the titles don't seem like there's a common route ending. So I'm guessing the secret route must have one more. Alrighty then. This was Garret's route. I will do a small break on the game to, first get back to another game, and then get back to it with, mix route. So yeah, until then, goodbye!